Howdy folks, this is the 2022 Lexus IS 500 F Sport Performance. And this is the 2021 Lexus RCF Fuji Special Edition, this one. Both of these vehicles are very similar underneath, very different on top, and both of them represent the end of an era. It's because both of these vehicles have monstrous V8s, pretty much the same V8, and they put out amazing performance, but nowadays, things are becoming electrified. So what is it about these two vehicles that represents awesomeness? Well, once again, it has to do with what's under the hood, and it's a little sad. Important numbers: 472 horsepower, 395 pound-feet of torque. That's both of these engines. 8-speed automatic transmission, both of these vehicles. Rear drive, both of these vehicles. Torsen limited slip rear diff, both of these vehicles. In fact, according to Lexus, and we can't talk too much about what this vehicle can do, however, in their press release they did mention gas mileage. Both of these combined, 19 mpg. One final thing about both of these vehicles. This has a titanium exhaust, which is specific to the Fuji package. This does not, however, this does still have a sweet sounding exhaust. Are they awesome? Of course they are. Why? Because they have a V8. And it's not just an ordinary V8, this is a 5-liter V8, and it's not going to be around for much longer. Let's talk about styling and a little bit of convenience. First with the 2021 RCF Fuji. I love the RCF. It is a remarkable car. I've driven many of them. But this is sort of the pinnacle of all that. Now at the very end of this video, I will be able to mention the price of this car. And you're going to have to put your seatbelt on for that one. But let's talk about what makes it unique, because if you didn't notice, there is a sea of carbon fiber, and there is a ton of it. Now, the reason why there's so much carbon fiber on this vehicle is actually to make it lighter. In many cases, people put carbon fiber onto sporty vehicles or regular vehicles to make them look sporty. In many cases, it's fake carbon fiber, but this is all real. A majority of it is right here, right there, and in the back. Now, when we get to the back, you're going to see a massive spoiler, and I'm going to make fun of it. So just brace yourselves for that. But let's work our way back to these ultra lightweight 19-inch wheels. Now, they are staggered in terms of size for the tires. They are running on Michelins, but what you also have are massive carbon ceramic 14.3 diameter disc brakes. They're huge, and the whole point of it is on the track to make this a much more athletic vehicle that stops on a dime. But let's come to the back. Now, what you might have noticed is there's an aircraft carrier parked on the back of this vehicle. No, it is an all carbon fiber spoiler, and I'm sure it's effective. However, unfortunately, it is also not exactly very Lexus. You know what I mean? It doesn't have that feel. It is boy racer, and it really ticks me off. But what doesn't tick me off is right down here. Proper quad exhaust. Titanium exhaust system. Why? Because it's titanium. All right. Now, this is a maximum 14.4 cubic feet of space. And if you're wondering, there's no spare tire for lightness, and also you do have a repair kit in case things go awry. So there is enough room in here for a couple sets of golf clubs. And there's also room in the back seat for at least 2 sets of golf clubs, which is awesome because there's not a lot of room in the back seat for human beings. For that, you would need a 4-door, which is just like this car. Now let's continue to the back of this IS 500. Believe it or not, this is a slightly more utilitarian vehicle. Hey, I'm sure you believe it. Now this is a 14.8 cubic foot trunk, and has a handy dandy, very cool looking donut spare tire. Look at that. Has very similar looking quad exhaust, but it's not titanium, but it is inspired by vehicles like the RCF. Another thing we have, once again, staggered wheels. These are 19-inch. You're looking at a wider wheel. Then you work your way on back. Now, just look at this. Camera guy, I want you to kind of move over here because I need to show you something that's incredible. One thing I absolutely love about this vehicle is this curve right here. Look at that. That is just beautiful. It makes the staggered wheels look even more impressive. It is just beautiful. The rest of the vehicle looks basically like an IS, right? And then you get to the hood. Now we do have the new front end, of course, with these awesome looking headlights. And even though I'm not a huge fan of the fact that a lot of Lexus have this grille that matches one to the other, I mean, these are almost identical between these two cars, it still looks pretty good. It's very aggressive and angry looking. I'm gonna get you. After I figure out how I'm gonna pay for it. I guarantee you, this is not an inexpensive car, but we don't have pricing on it available yet. Now, one final thing before we finish up on styling. You're not going to see cars like this in the near future. They're gonna change. Why? Because once they go all electric, there's no reason to have these long bonnets. Once they go all electric, there's no reason to have this type of design. Why? You really don't need to have an engine compartment, right? So keep looking, keep lusting, and keep in mind, ain't gonna last forever. A special edition vehicle means that it also has a special edition interior. And if you look at the red lined leather, yeah, it's definitely unique. These racing seats, well, pretty nice. Not perfect though. I'd rather have them heated and cooled with a massaging feature if I'm going to spend this much money on a car. But I wanted to draw your attention to the carbon fiber. I told you before I'm not a big fan of it. However, Toyota did something really cool, and they wove red into the interior carbon fiber trim. And I think it looks pretty good. Now let's talk really quickly about the instrumentation. It's basically all the same, which is kind of a bummer. I'm still not a fan of the touchpad, and also the fact that this is old tech. So this screen, even though it's over 10 inches, I cannot touch it and make anything happen. I have to use the pad to pretty much make everything happen. And that's one of the big differences between this vehicle and that IS. That IS has a large screen, and it's a little bit closer, and it's a touch screen, which means I don't have to use this pad, which makes me very happy. But there's one more thing I want to talk about, and that is this. That is not altered. That is proper V8 sound. And it's just, it still sounds amazing. However, there is something you guys should know, and that is this 8-speed automatic transmission, while quite good for everyday driving and light performance driving, if you're on a track and if you're banging around, it does not like to be hurried. It does everything on its own. Using these paddle shifters is almost useless if you want to run it up to redline. It's not going to be happy about downshifting. So personally speaking, when I'm driving it, I'm just 2-footing it and letting the transmission figure it out, because these things are next to useless. All right, guys, let me point out something that is obvious. More headroom, a lot easier to get into. But there are a couple things that this car can do that that one can't. For one thing, this can actually hold passengers in the back somewhat comfortably, as long as they're not too big. It's a tight back seat. I've shown it before. We all know it's a tight back seat. Toyota knows it. Lexus knows it. But this is different, and this is new. Starting with the screen. Watch this. This is great. I'm going to touch a button on the screen, and it's actually going to do something. That's right, it did something. Amazing. Anyway, there is something else. This is a modern car, right? It's a CD player. The average age of a Lexus owner is a little bit more extreme, closer to Roman's age than mine, perhaps. And as such, they like CDs, they still use them. But let's talk about this screen in front of me, because it does something really cool, and that is that it has this moving tack. It's a gimmick, I get it, it's unnecessary, you could totally just not even need that, but I love it. Now this also has the flappy paddles and also has an extraordinarily good steering wheel, but as you can tell with the interior, it's a much more relaxed design. I actually really like it. I like it a lot. I love what Lexus does with their design in general. I love the analog clock. I love the fact that they actually have a gear lever or lever, whatever you want to call it, because I get yelled at if I call it lever, whatever. Now, I'm going to read the price to you on this special edition vehicle. Remember, this is the RCF Fuji, and they're only making 60 of these. They're already all spoken for. We're lucky enough to get this one. The thing is, if you want this car, you're going to have to spend $102,000 for one of these. Why? In the past, I've said that the RCF is a bargain for what you're getting because it's a big V8 in a coupe, right? And a luxury coupe at that. $65,000 $875 for a base model. This is no base model. Part of the reason you're paying so much money is because A, only 60 are being made. B, oh, by the way, you get a special watch with it. Although I looked all over the car and I couldn't find the watch. I wonder why. So what are you paying for? Why is it so much more expensive? Well, a lot of that has to do with the fact, remember I mentioned the titanium exhaust, the special brakes, they're Brembos, they're huge. All of this carbon fiber, bear in mind that this is all bespoke to this vehicle. That's also for the special materials used throughout the interior, including that specially woven carbon fiber and all that beautiful red leather, everything that's on the inside. So all of those are bespoke to this vehicle. Very unique. And also, yeah, that huge spoiler in the back. What are you gonna do? But you also have the special wheels, the special tires. This is a special car. Funny thing is according to Lexus, basically the 0 to 60 performance is no different than the regular RCF. The big difference really is handling, and also the fact that it's unique and that cool watch. Okay, so what are you getting with the 2022 Lexus IS 500 F Sport Performance? A lot of power. I can't tell you very much about what you're going to be paying for because they haven't released pricing yet. Obviously, it's going to be a lot more expensive than the 6-cylinder and also the 6-cylinder all-wheel drive. But I can tell you this, that underneath, as I said before, they're very similar vehicles. So you can expect performance to be impressive. That's all I can say about it. But stay tuned because we are going to cover this car and we're going to have some fun doing it. One final thing about both vehicles, as I said before, we are talking about the end of an era. It's not going to be long before Lexus discontinues their big V8s. What does that mean? Well, the good news is it probably means better performance in the future with lighter weight vehicles that get better gas mileage, if they even use petrol. The bad news is the sound, the feel, the experience of a big V8, it's going to go away. And there aren't that many vehicles left that are like these. Let me know what you think about both vehicles in the comments below. Thanks for joining me for the Fast Lane Car. This is Nathan. I'll see you next time.